Hello. Hello, fellow. Anybody there? One, two, three thumbs up. One human listening. Hello. 22 people, 9 thumbs up. Hello. Hi there, Oscar Contreras. Rolf B. Paul Vings. Hello. How the heck are you? More. 47 in the house. Hello. Warren. Bradley Smith. Char Rose. Ginger S. Reverse Universe. Inner Knowing. Twirly Cashew. That sounds delicious. Angela Sandlin has a wrench. 10 Dragon. 14. Alien Believers. Scott Robinson. Paul Vennings. Teresa Dare. How dare you? How dare you? Now we have a huge lag time. I have that set into the algorithm here because we are on satellite. So bear with us. You're not going to get really good visuals. You'll get really great audios. Hey, Charlie. Capling. 108 Dragon. Thistledown. John 358. Reverse Universe. Bradley Smith. Alien Believers. Wise Owl. Matt Mathers. Satur 8. DMAC. Teresa Dare. Paul Vennings. Scott Robinson. King Kong is in the house. We're now at almost 100 people. Not sheeple. Yo, King Kong. 10 Dragon. Costco's in the house. Got to wear a mask. Okay. From the Sierra Nevada in España. Thank you, Costco. TGS Source. Char Rose. Shapeshifting. Silva M. All right, Willie. D. Howard. Okay, we're all in the house. I will give you 30 minutes of my time. It's getting fine. Illuminati. All right, it's go time. Okay, what's happening up here? Big twig. Now, what I bought today was $7 worth of crops. Yes. And we've got some Alaska pea, and we've got some Cascadia sugar snap. I think I got a 8 ounce on that. Alaska pea, sugar snap. These are just 2 of what I'm doing today. And what are you doing today? Hopefully every day for the next 3 months, everyone should be planting something. Steffers J smoked and forgot her question. Nice, says Matt Matters. Okay. I will allow 4 questions. I'm going to answer 4 questions, and then we're going to go to sleep here. Maybe we'll even do a dab with you. But first question, first one that comes back there that's worthy of an answer. Yabba dabba doo, Char Rose. Most Alaska pea contains whiskey. Yeah, well, just how they work it up in Alaska. Someone's harvesting herbs and tomatoes. Right on. Thanks. we've got some amaranth currently en route, among many other things. Now, amaranth will not even grow here till July, so we've got like a third of the year to go there. So, okay. Now that we're all in the house, like the mouse getting the cheese, who do we get? Yukon, Cornelius, 1-0 Dragon, High Country Homestead, Rolf B, Paul Vennings, 1-0 Dragon, Reverse Universe, TGS Source, Weist, Lewis, whatever your name is, Warren Skill. All right. Here's their first question. Unles Lewis, the Iceland volcano diamond looks like it's ramping up. What do you think? Yes, it is ramping up. Yes, it is. Uist, whatever your name is. The Iceland volcano is increasing in effusive activity, which means that the lava is pumping out on the surface higher than usual. And we can just confirm this. Well, I won't even show it to you because we're going to reduce bandwidth. But we showed you the live streams. And certainly that volcano has been increasing over the last few days. And the whole valley is now filled with lava. It's not a big increase. If we can, if we go from the beginning to now, it's just a very slight uptick. And since the beginning, we said that this rift eruption is not going to be violent. It's going to be ongoing and ever present. And that is what is happening. So please, better question, not about Iceland. Broccoli trees will grow forever. Yeah, brassicas can do that. If you are in a zone 8 or higher, you're good to go. Teresa, I can't explain climate change in this update, but it is natural, cyclic, periodic. It has nothing to do with you. Predictions on a New Madrid earthquake. Yes. Well, that will be inevitable. It's not happening anytime soon. If it doesn't happen this spring, ding, ding, it will. We're going to be on pause, and it probably won't happen till the next cycle, which will be 2028 through 2030. But we still have a year to go. So there could be a New Madrid quake in the coming year, and we're waiting on it. It's about a 30% probability. Anyone, Charlie, you say we're moving through a debris field. That means you watch that other guy, the Christian Crusader over at BP Earthwatch. There's no such thing as a debris field. We call them, well, there's no debris fields. They're called, oh God, I just got to stretch my neck. So those asteroid events, they're not coming to get you. In fact, almost all the asteroid fields we move through, 99.99999, even more than COVID susceptibility, do not result in any objects hitting the Earth. So these, what we call asteroid fields, BP Earthwatch calls them debris fields to get you scared. None of them have ever come to fruition. Now, I've been following BP Earthwatch, and he's a good guy, but little alarmist. He's told us these debris fields would hit us about 1,000 times since he's been on air for the last decade, and nothing has happened. So do your own homework. So I've covered a lot of this. Do you think that the Southern Hemisphere could experience a polar vortex similar to that storm just hit? Yeah, I mean, you've been watching the polar vortex hit the Southern Hemisphere all winter. It's the coldest winter on record. And now the wettest summer spring. That's a bummer. So these are just cosmological facts on climate cyclicity. You can look at the cyclic nature of climatology, and you can see that during grand minimas and any other solar minimas, the same thing happened in Australia 11 years ago, 10 years ago. That's happening today. If it's not, then go back 20, 30, 40, 50, use that 10, 11-year periodicity, and you're going to get to the brass tacks of what's happening there. And anyone claiming that Australia is going to burn up and never see rain again is obviously a fraud. And these are the people that are controlling the policy in that continent. So that should leave you pause, and that should, well, get you all in the streets saying shut it down because they're frauds. Strange skies. There are no interesting quakes near Carlsbad. These are all natural activity, mostly because of fracking and deep well injection. There's nothing unique going on in North America that's indicative of anything unique, except people blogging on YouTube lying to you about bullshit. Yeah. 420's got it down. Downtown Leroy Brown. Okay. Australia is the land of extremes. Hello, Paul. TGS source. Australia is flooding. In fact, the flooding there in New South Wales is 100-year periodicity. It's not new or like epic or unique. It's just a normal climate cycle that they've seen there in the past. Thousands of idiots have moved into regions where they should have never moved in before. And if their $500,000 home gets flooded, well, so be it. Idiots are abound. People don't think anything I say is coming true. And they continue to buy land on the ocean in Florida, in California. Think of Al Gore and all those schmucks that are multi-billionaires that are investing all their money in fake meat. How do you think that's going to roll out over the next decade? Well, they may make money due to the shutdowns and the fact that these corporations will swell, but their decisions to put their houses and other shit, pretty stupid, in my opinion. So let's look for some good questions where we can talk about some science. Now I got 156 in the room. Good morning, Joe Awesome. Kristen, hello, Diamond. Hello, Kristen. Adams. Matt, how you doing? Bradley, what's up? Saturn Raindrops, good morning from the UK. Can I get another question? If you've already asked it and I missed it, re-ask it, please. It's beyond comprehension. Yeah, no, it isn't, Matt. We can bring that to the table right now. Don't build on any slope greater than 30 degrees. Obviously, Yukon. Duh. I'm in the Tularosa Valley, says Brastard, and wouldn't know a quake if it happened because of the artillery. How do you say that? Artillery? Apparently, they're blasting artillery into the mountains to cause maybe, I don't know. Hello. Phyllis, thank you, Joe. How long have I known Greg Allison? 5 years, maybe. That's a good guess. I've really known him for 4 years. We've been tight for 3 years, and he's basically my brother from another mother. My opinion on expanding Earth theory, there is no opinion. I believe that the Earth has been growing for quite some time. Sometimes it shrinks, but it's been growing ever since its inception. So the plate tectonic theory needs to be reworked. Now, a lot of people that are talking about plate tectonic theory are completely wrong because they're at the far end of the spectrum. A lot of people talking about plate tectonic theory on the other end of the spectrum are completely wrong. That would be academia on the wrong side, conspiracy theorists on the left side, right? And somewhere in the middle is the reality. So what we know is that the plate tectonic theory is not correct. There isn't a slow slip happening on these plates. There's a rapid movement during cosmic catastrophe. And there's no evidence to support the rapid movement during these small periods of time. Because when we look at them geologically, it appears as if it's a slow slip or a slow movement. And nothing could be further than the truth there. So in the coming years, I see a huge reworking of the plate tectonic theory based on expanding Earth. And now the Earth expands, so you need a mechanism to expand Earth. Our planet needs to be growing in size, gaining mass at megatons per year. Now, how could that possibly happen? Well, if electricity is pouring into the poles in the north and the south because of our magnetosphere, then we have to have some transmigration or transmutation of elements of our Earth, where because of power, nothing more than electricity, we're actually transmutating elements and creating matter in the central core of our Earth, which would be a plasmoid that's moving. So electricity comes into the plasmoid, it creates matter and it expands, which causes the cracking on the surface, mid-ocean ridges, and the growing of the oceans. Now, these oceans started splitting 450 million years ago for the Pacific, 260 million years ago for the Atlantic. And if we're off on the dating, then what we should be talking about is the mechanism. If the Earth is expanding and these ocean basins are just starting about 460 million years ago, 260 million years ago for the Atlantic, then our Earth about 400 million years ago was all continent, which means that the Earth was flooded by oceans, which is what we see in the geologic past. From 450 million to 250 million years, all we see in North America are shallow inland seas. We don't see any deep continental seas. We see shallow inland seas. We do see some deep effects during the Ordovician, but I won't get into that. Those are the turbidite deposits. But that was the beginning of the spreading of Earth. Around 460 million years ago, the Earth started cracking apart and spreading, and all these oceans filled into these spaces. Now, if you are not up to speed before I end this question, the mantle and the transition zone below the oceans in the intercrust, in the Earth, contain 3 times more water than the planet has on the surface. So what we've learned in the last decade is that our Earth contains 3 times more water in the crust, in the subsurface, in the inner core, outer core, mantle region, anywhere you want to think about it. We have 3 times more water in the Earth than is on the surface. So might there be a mechanism to make that water outburst and flood the surface? It's anyone's guess. And I think that it might be part of the mechanism that a lot of the are missing, like Doug Vogt, Ben Davis, and others, because they're not geologists. They haven't studied the actual rock. They haven't looked at basins worldwide like I have. They haven't seen the geologic record from the Cambrian all the way to recent. They haven't looked at thousands of quarry sites. They haven't done the stratigraphy and seen the actual stratigraphic deposits that are indicative of this massive type of cyclic returning. And the turbidity, it doesn't matter. These cycles at the 26,000 year level have occurred in the Ordovician, the Cambrian, the Silurian, the Devonian, the Permian, Carboniferous, all the way up to the Pleistocene and into the modern era. The Key Largo limestone is, in fact, the last cycle that has happened. This is the last, the Younger Dryas cycle. And if you go to Florida, the reason Florida exists is because sea level dropped and it's risen up and is allowed that reef called Florida to stay above sea level. If the rest of the ice melts, 115 feet of sea level rises and Florida's underwater. Boom! Goodbye, Florida. You're not even going to be able to put up a seawall. You are underwater. South Carolina is the new oceanfront all the way on the southern region. But I digress, because Florida, that's not their only worry. Florida has to worry about the Canary Islands. They also have to worry about Hawaii, and there's the Salina slump in Hawaii. There's the Canary Island slump, and either one of those is a cocktail for disaster. Now, let me just look back here a little bit and look for some more questions. I'm sorry. I like to bloviate. Like and share. Kristen, thank you. What's really beyond Antarctica? Well, if you think Char Rose, it's not flat. Beyond Antarctica is the other side of the world, and you go back up on the other side. So there's that. I already asked that, Kristen. Yellow sun, the white sun stuff. Well, that's a very simple yellow sun versus white sun. Very simple answer. In the late 90s, actually in 1989 was solar maximum. So all of us that grew up in the 70s and the 80s were seeing the yellow sun increase until 1990. The yellow sun peaked. And that was solar max. Since then, we've gone into solar minimum. We're grand solar minimum in the last 10 years. So since 1990, that's 30 years, we've been dropping off, and the sun has been changing for 3 decades. So that anyone's that our age, I'm 50. I saw the yellow sun. I grew up on the yellow sun, and now it's all white sun. White sun has to do with lack of magnetosphere, lack of atmosphere, and all of the coloration on the horizon during sunset has to do with what's happening in our atmosphere. So if you see a pink sun or a purple sun, it's because volcanic ash or gases are in the atmosphere. But right now, for the most people on Earth, when we witness the sun, we're seeing this bright white sun. Now, I don't want to scare you. I want to prepare you. And if you're my age, 50, what's happened in the last 5 decades is that here is space. Okay, when I was born, space was 140 miles or 140 kilometers above the surface. And since then, space has been getting closer. It's been dropping down. Our magnetosphere is shrinking. And just in the last 5 decades, space now barely 100 kilometers above the surface. And soon it will be even closer. And so maybe in 2 decades, it'll be 50 kilometers to space. And so people wonder why mammoths were frozen with those little tendrils in their mouth, little cocktails of clover and whatever. Okay, so now if we're in Siberia, in the Younger Dryas event, and the Earth is compressed, where space is just 60 miles north of the surface, then a huge super flare hits us and compresses that system down flat. On the one side of Earth where the super flare is hitting, everyone gets fried. Temperatures rise to 300 degrees. Pieces of the sun are hitting the Earth as molten material. And it's called the Carolina Bays. Just molten sun pieces. Thousands of them hit the Earth in North America. Carolina Bays. Well, on the other side of the Earth, where Siberia is, the mammoths are eating shit, and then what happens on the backside is a reverse induction where the magnetosphere sucks in as it's being shed on the other side. And this compression event causes the opposite side of the planet to reach absolute zero instantaneously. The opposite side of the planet goes into space for a short period of time, 8, 12, 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. The opposite side of the planet is actually in space, no oxygen, absolute zero, instantly. Once you pass the threshold, anything would flash freeze forever. Unless it got above freezing recently, it would stay that cold forever. And certainly that's what happened. Permafrost, and then the debris flow over. So you have hundreds of feet of frozen debris on top of that, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what they're exactly mining in those regions where they're bringing out mammoth bones and live flesh up in those islands in northern Siberia. They're actually mining the catastrophe cycle from 12,900 years ago. It's absolutely amazing. And the information, this is all new. This is only the last few decades where we're actually allowed to endeavor into understanding what's happening. But at the same time, mainstream media is not allowed to tell us this. So there's no breaking stories on the actual history of your past. It's hidden in the papers. You have to actually pay $700 a year to be a member of the Stratigraphy and Sedimentology Journal and all the geologic journals. You would actually need to keep up to speed with this nonsense. And it's on purpose to keep you stupid and compliant. If you do not pay to play, you cannot know to know. And that's the idiocracy that we live in. Okay. I'm going to answer 2 more questions and I got to go to bed. Etna lost one of its sides. Yeah, that's normal. When we have a moderate cinder cone that's being very active, like 14 paroxysms times 10, 14 paroxysms in a month, that cinder cone is going to break down. There's going to be new fissures. This is totally expected. Same thing is happening up on the Kamchatka, where some of those volcanoes we've been following for years are now breaking down and have vents off the side. Etna is one of them. I think Kluchaskov has a new vent and a new volcano, which they'll name the cinder cone after. Same thing is happening in Iceland. That little puffer vent, they're calling it whatever, insignificant, this and that. They're going to name it, and it will be a historical volcano in the future, like Barabunga. But do not digress from the Iceland update. They want you to think that this is an insignificant event. It's just erupted a few kilometers of lava over the days. People are cooking hot dogs on it. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing to see here. Bullshit. We did a historical analysis on the eruptive activity on Reykjanes, and there has never been a time ever historically when the Reykjanes Ridge didn't erupt, and then shortly after that, another large volcano on Iceland erupts, basically causing the entire island to become unlivable. That's why people didn't move there till 700 years ago. So all it's about 1 million people on Iceland living there now. They only moved there after the last eruptive event, and we are just entering the next eruptive event. Can you imagine how the 1 million people there that are being kept in the dark have been duped about their future on their continent? Iceland is not a place you live on. That's why they named it Iceland. They didn't name it Iceland because it was a Greenland. They named it Iceland because it was a deathland, a place where either volcanoes erupt or you're covered in ice. You have 2 options. There is no third option called living long-term forever and being happy. That was never an option on Iceland. In fact, the Vikings came, proliferated there 2,000 years ago, and about 1,400 years ago, they all died off because the volcanoes erupted. And they didn't stop erupting till about 700 years ago when all the schmucks on Iceland moved back there. And here they all are there now. Hello. What would you tell to the population on that island that are living there cooking hot dogs on that lava flow? Would you say, hey, yeah, this is an insignificant event? Or would you say, this is indicative of the events that happened on an 800-year periodicity? Looks like in the near future, we cannot live on this island unless we want to live in a lava hell. What would you say to those people? I just said it. So they've all heard it if they watch the channel. Get the fuck out of Dodge. Like I say, get out of major cities, get out of small islands that are on the mid-ocean ridge that erupt. If you don't know what happened to Atlantis, then you will not know what happens in Iceland when you all die, because the same thing is going to happen there. Next question. I mean, how stupid are these fucking pricks? Well, I guess they just don't know. Okay. 30 minutes in, we're about done. Unless I get a good question. 420 Freedomist Films. Nordic IS flying craft are the best. Lol. Earth glitches. Icelanders were some of my fave all-time people. Yeah, they're great. It's not going to be a major event. They're not all going to die at the same time. No one's going to die. Only the people that go up and melt hot dogs on the lava may die. But it's going to ever increase in volcanic activity. The winds and the carbon dioxide are going to become unbearable at some point. And yet there are still hundreds of thousands of people that want to stay there. And that's the problem. It will be impossible at a point. Earth is on its side for real. Want to know how? Watch the moon. Robed Rebel, you're an idiot. The moon flips upside down every night as it moves across the sky. It starts over here and it flips upside down over here as it moves across the sky. It's not because the moon is moving. It's because you're flipping as you move on Earth. So you just started looking up recently and you're a fucking idiot. So stop purporting that you know something about cosmology because you're a fucking idiot. Anyone who thinks the moon's flipping, yeah, it is based on your position on the planet as it rotates. So you're an idiot and you deserve to be called one. Yes. Of course, Rex eats lava for lunch. We all know that. Now, Costco deserves a boom because they just donated $10. And we hate Costco because they're owned by China. But I'm sure Costco, the person knows that. Last time I was at Costco was in New Mexico, and everyone had to be 20 feet apart, and they only allowed 6 people in every hour. It was a complete shit show. But I want to give you an update. Today, because I'm part of the mask-free movement in my region, I walked into Walmart. I pulled the mask up here. As soon as I got my card, I took it off. I went through the whole store. I said, fuck you to everyone. About 30% of the population was without masks. Did the same thing in my supermarket. And, well, I'm done with the mask bullshit. Unless you put a gun to my head, I won't put a fucking face panty on my face for any reason. Ever. Infinitum. You could suck it. And that's based on science. 100%. I'm working with the CDC and the World Health Organization guidelines where face masks don't do a shit. So I'm using the science, not the propaganda. Now, I'll take one more good question where I can bloviate for 20 minutes. Does anyone have the capacity to ask me a good question? Cascadia time frame. I'm on the coast. I need a time frame. Bob, that's not a question. It's going to happen eventually. If you're waiting for it to happen, you're an idiot. So go fuck yourself, Bob. Yeah, Thursday, April 17th. I'm Doug Vogt. It's going to erupt on August 28th, 2019 at 8:30 p.m. on 2043. So leave it 2041 at 6:22 p.m., 8:17 on 2034, and you'll be safe. Anyone that claims those type of numbers are the same fucking idiots with the end is nigh placards on the front and back on Times Square in New York. So if you're following those channels, unsubscribe and tell them how fucking stupid they are, please. All right. Never have, never will. Paul, Rolf B, thank you for being up in the Nordic regions, watching us, loving us in the middle of nowhere. Rolf B is a hero. I mean, he's for years, and he is up in the Arctic Circle, as far as I know. Is there a region in Canada that didn't have is there a region in Canada that didn't have ice? No. No, Chair Woman. Please look at the science. Canada in an ice age is under ice. That's why it's so flat. It's called the Canadian Shield. That was ground flat by a mile of ice. Just 12,900 years ago, it ended. So that shit is ground flat, like sandpaper, like put a whole civilization in Canada and go and sand it for 10,000 years under ice. That's Canada. That's where you live. So, Chairwoman, if you think that's a safe place, stay there and get sanded down in the future. Mount Etna. Well, I predicted 3 years ago that Mount Etna will kill tourists. It still hasn't upticked that high, Kristen. It's only just a small uptick. So I predicted that. This is what's happening now. So this was the beginning. This is what's happening now. I predicted that. So use your own brain to understand where Etna is going. There are 50,000 people just a few miles to the east of Etna. So when it gets to that, everyone dies and we have a huge story, which is what I predicted 3 years ago. So we're waiting for that, Kristen. Robbed Rebel says, eat a bag of Richard Oppenheimer. I don't know even what that means, but watch how I do this. Robbed Rebel, I don't understand what you're saying. I just block you from the channel forever. See how easy that is? Twirly Cashew's having a good time. Will the water tables change? Water tables change all the time based on a 10-year cycle of drought and deluge. Everywhere on the planet, water tables go up and down. And if you're just getting up on the idea of earth science and water, I don't have much to say to you. The water table goes up and down based on drought and deluge. That's it. Period. How is it going to be in the parts of the Balkans like Croatia? Well, they're going to get heavy snow because they're off of a huge inland sea, and they're going to be getting 3 to 10 feet of snow in the next 2 weeks. So they're fucked there. Anyone who lives there is fucked. Their roofs will collapse. They're going to be under hundreds of feet of snow, and it's going to continue forever. So if you live there, good luck. Sicily is doomed. Something bad is going to happen there. So if you live there, kiss your ass goodbye. Probably won't happen this year, 10 years. But in the next 20 years, you're fucked. It's over, Johnny. Now, this is all based on historical geology. I don't have any reference, but everything I've ever researched historically that's cyclic has come true, and you've all witnessed it. And the only reason I have the channel is because I'm only reporting on historical shit that's happened before, that's going to happen now, based on everything that happened in the past. If everything that happens in the past is happening now in the future, then I'm pretty good at saying that these things will happen now. And they all do. So when people are saying, is it safe to live in Sicily? No, everyone got buried there under hundreds of feet of ash in the past. So how could it be safe to live there now? At one point, does the earth say, okay, Sicily has a pass? That thing where we killed everyone 1,000 years ago will never happen again. It's going to happen again. And it's going to happen soon, unfortunately, because everything is a cycle. And the Sicily cycle is coming back. It's the bond cycle. It's a 1,000-year cycle. And boom, you will be buried in ash. Do we have 2 years before the flip? Of course. Over a decade. And there will be no magnetic flip. The last flip was 760 fucking thousand years ago. Now, what had in between then is 100 magnetic excursions. The excursion always happens. Flips only happen on the big 100,000-year cycle. The last one was 12,900 years ago, the Younger Dryas event. And we're not going to get into another major cycle for 80,000 years. So these minor perturbations in between are insignificant. Anyone like Ben Davidson, Mario Buildup Reps, any of the schmucks that are saying that something happening soon is going to be as dangerous as the one thing that happened 12,900 years ago, according to the Adam and Eve story and all the bullshit in the Bible, are full of shit. They're using dogma and religion to scare the shit out of you, to sell books, and to get you to live in a desert environment on cheap land that they pay, that you charge millions of dollars for, to live next to a penitentiary where people are going to eat your spleen for lunch and kill you and just rip you apart. Because there's going to be 100 fucking idiots at this observer ranch or somewhere next to Canyon City, next to a penitentiary, that when the grid goes down, those people are coming right there and taking all the shit they have. And those schmucks have no ability to fight back because they don't know what to do. It's hard to kill someone. I've been there. Someone came to my ranch to kill me, and I had a hard time killing them, and they're still alive, but they are in jail. And I've been in penitentiary for 8 out of the last 20 years. In the last 20 years of my life, I've been in penitentiary for 8 years, 7 different times, different places. I know how to go to jail. I know the people in jail. I know them all. They're my friends. And they are coming for you if you're in Canyon City and you're prepping there. That's the dumbest fucking spot on earth you could ever make a survival ranch or a campground, in my opinion. And it's just my opinion. Ben Davidson is a genius. He wrote a book. He's got 500,000 subscribers, and he knows what he's talking about. So he bought hundreds of acres right next to a state penitentiary to keep you safe and to sell you way overpriced shit lots where people are coming to kill you and your family, eviscerate you right up through your gut. So if that's what you want to do for a survival community, go for it. Boom. I'm not there. I'll never go there. In fact, when the shit hits the fan, I'm going to come there in back of the jail people because they're my friends. And I'm going to clean up after you. That's how I'm going to do it. And we have way more time than the flip. The magnetic excursion will not kick up into top speed until 2035, 2038, in my opinion. At the bottom of the magnetic reversal, they're all linked. So we have till 2035 until the major shit hits the fan. But it's my opinion, and I've said this time and time again, right? It's 2021. By 2030, 2024, in the next 2-3 years, the grid is going to start to fail in certain points, because in 2 years, I think the sun is, with our waning magnetosphere, is going to poke a couple X flares right at us, going to knock out half the planet. And that's when shit's going to get real. Same thing I've said since the beginning of the channel. Nothing's changed. I won't change it. It's only being reinforced. The only thing I change my opinion about is idiots that prep next to state prisons. And that's it. Because that's the dumbest place any human would ever put a prepper community. Next to the most dangerous city in the world, next to a state prison. Well, it's cheap land, and you can certainly hawk it off for 100 times the value to a bunch of idiots that trust you. So be careful who you trust. The guy that moved to 80 miles from DARPA up in Boulder, Colorado, the worst place to live, who's also peddling the fact that during an ice age, east of the Rockies is better than west of the Rockies. But that paper was 56 degrees north latitude up in northern Canada. He didn't tell you that. He was trying to scare you in North America so you buy into his fucking ranch. That's how disingenuous that schmuck is. All right, any real questions about science and preparedness that actually matter? Thank you, Ricky Tavi. Ricky Ticky Tavi. And anyone who donated tonight, I'm sorry, I'm very preoccupied. I cannot thank you all. Anyone who gives me a single frickin' dollar deserves mad props, because every single dollar I've ever gotten from Anything I've ever published here goes directly to the ranch and goes to preparedness, and I share it with everyone. In fact, just let me digress. Last year, we made $22,000 based on our channel in the year, 22 grand. And that's on Google ad revenue, our Patreon, our anything, every other affiliate. We have preparewiththeranch.com over at My Patriot Supply and just a few other affiliates. But we made 22 grand last year. Last year, I spent $40,000 on planting and preparedness. And on top of that, we gave out 11 pounds of cannabis worth $26,000 at events for free. We don't charge anything. And so last year, we gave away twice as much money as we made. We gave away $50,000 worth of weed, cash, and I can't even tell you. We give. And 10 years ago, I decided that the only thing I wanted to do is give away everything I had. And the more we get, the more we give. And so it was so bizarre. We were giving away so much cash and cannabis at Crestone Energy Fair. There were hundreds of people around our table. A lot of them started to get scared. They were like, "You're giving away all this cannabis for free? Wait a minute. These guys are feds. These guys are illegal." People don't understand the premise. Look, I still have 26 pounds of cannabis to give away for free. Do you know what that's worth? If I sold it, I could get 50 grand tomorrow. But if I give it away, I am now spreading $50,000 worth of hope into the community. People spend money on cannabis. If I can give you $1,000 worth of cannabis and you can save that money, spend it on your infrastructure, your grow, your farming, your greenhouse, boom. And I can give you quality of life where you actually helps all of your afflictions, etc. Cannabis is the cure for almost everything. Depends on what kind of cannabis, what kind of species. I can break you through it. But once we all know how to grow our own medicine and food and money, isn't that funny? You can grow money. Isn't that funny? That's what I'm trying to teach you. You can grow money. Part of my keynote speech, the last 2 minutes, if you ever watched it, all I advocate for is to grow free weed. If you're in a state where cannabis is legal and you're not growing cannabis, you are literally not growing money. You can grow $3,000 to $6,000 worth of free money that you can barter and use annually. Doesn't matter if you smoke it. Other people do, and you can trade it with them. And people just don't get it, man. It's all about living in harmony with the earth. Grow food, grow knowledge, grow medicine, stay away from the corporate infrastructure that's killing you. And that's GMO food. That's the supermarket. That is multinational corporations, pharmaceutical industry. They're killing you. And we're trying to take you away from that paradigm and to make your own pharmaceutical industry, grow your own cannabis, grow your own medicinal herbs, wild harvest chaga mushrooms, uptick there is endless opportunities in wild harvesting and growing your own food and nutrients where you can literally blow the lid off of the pharmaceutical industry, bankrupt them. I haven't been to a hospital in 15 years. Hello? I haven't been to a doctor, haven't been sick, haven't had the flu. And if I did, it would be COVID-19. Haven't had that. Because the amount of nutrient and look, I'm not a healthy person. I smoke grams of cannabis a day. I dab pure cannabis oil. I smoke joints. I smoke pot. I smoke cigarettes. I do all of that. And yet I don't get a cold. I don't get the flu. I don't get sick. I don't get rhinovirus. I go out in town every single day to be exposed to all these schmucks. We have 3 million tourists that come through our town of 2,600 people. And I interact with them all. I laugh at them without a mask. I rub shoulders with them. They look at me dirty. They give me evil looks. I'm not sick. I've never been. I've been here for 6 years. I have not been sick. And it's not because of what AstraZeneca, Dow Pharmaceutical, or any of those other schmucks, including Joe and fake Biden, senile candidate, fake running for president, Kamala Harris, the new Asian, Indian, Black American vice president fraud that is your non-leader. I mean, the only way that person leads you is if you say, yes, you're my leader. Where I live, there are no leaders. You know who makes the rules here? I do. And you know what happens if you don't follow my rules? Get the fuck out. That's how it should be. You don't follow my rules, you don't stay on my land. And there's a road right there to take you the fuck out of here. Those are the brass tacks. It's called sovereignty. I am my own keeper of my place. Now, if you think I'm an idiot or I have like a huge landfill of shit, I don't have that here. The place is beautiful. It's productive. It's constructive. It adds value to the area. It adds value to the real estate. It adds value to knowledge, hope, sustainability, security, agriculture, all of that. And Colorado is about value in agriculture, farming. In the few dozen acres that we work here, which is almost 100 acres we own, Leah and I, Oppenheimer Ranch Project can provide enough food to keep dozens of people alive for a year. If we choose, it could keep thousands of people alive. If we choose, we could teach how to keep hundreds of thousands of people alive using our techniques. That's why we're doing this. I don't have to go to the mini mart to get paid $8 an hour to be a slave to the masters, the money funders. And almost 85% of the population is slaving away, not for their benefit. Benefit of some rich asshole that does not give a fuck about you. Period. And if you do give it about you, then you should stop doing that. And I've been imploring everyone for 6 years to opt out of society. It's not that hard. If you're making minimum wage, there is no problem quitting your job and becoming homeless. There is no difference, except you might get not a pack of smokes. But at some point, if you're working towards a future you want, there will be a spark, there will be a place. You will come into a position where everything will fall into line and you will finally say, holy macaroli, I made it. That's what I did. I was homeless on a river 12 years ago, wanted by the police. And I turned myself in and I changed my life. And you know who I'm working for now? Not for a mini mart, not for $15 an hour or any of that shit. I made my own shit myself. Everyone can do that. That's the time we're living in. If you have the moxie with an XIE, then you have the ability to change your paradigm. And all you have to do is live in the moment. All I did, I'll tell you how I did it. It's the big secret. And by the way, I'm going to get David Martin's World out here in July for Freedom Fest. So stay tuned for those updates. And Rex and I are planning multiple events in the Pagosa Springs area for the summer. It's not the summer of bummer. This is the summer of take back your sovereignty. This is the Freedom Festival that you've been waiting for, 2021. We are going to organize it, whether they allow it or not, and you will come. I know you will, because I've already been there. So you have to make a choice. Do you want to be with them or do you want to be free? That's your choice. Do you want to be part of the Borg or do you want to be sovereign and be able to decide how you survive and thrive in the future? That is your future. And that's the unfortunate facts that we're living with. All right. This is almost an hour. This is already 30 minutes longer than I expected. Thanks, CF Jingar, for coming and listening. Terry, we love to see you. You've been here since the beginning. Angela, thank you for watching. And I've been avoiding the chat because I've been bloviating. So I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to ask me one more question of pertinence that I haven't already covered, and I will look through it. So go. Parts per million. I love that. Char Rose, lucid dream. Indeed. The best lucid dreaming is if you use Mexican tarragon. Very easy to grow, all the way down to zone 4. Check out Mexican tarragon, make a tea with it, eat it fresh in a salad, and boom, you're off to the races. We'll always kiss your ass, North Lacracus. Man, the comments are coming quick. I'm looking for a question. Where is the best place to live? According to Dave Phillips, all around everything, considering where is the best place to live and raise a family. Well, David, I'm going to answer one more question after this because this is a simple question. David Phillips, the best place to live is where you and your family feel safe. Period. It doesn't have to do with what I say or what anyone else says. You can use our information to move you around regionally. But wherever you and your family feel safe, that you have the necessary accoutrements, backups, and safety, that is where you should live. Not based on what anyone else says. It's based on how you feel, the community, the position, the logistics, and what you have. How you feel. It has nothing to do with what we say. Now, there are certain safe zones that are less, let's say, extreme than others, but people in the last catastrophe worldwide made it almost everywhere. So if you have enough equipment and enough preps, you can make it anywhere, anytime during any catastrophe based on archaeology, based on geology. But you're more likely to make it where you're within a group of like-minded people. Let's say 100 people. Let's say the catastrophe happens. 60 people die. 40 people live and it's over. Well, that's the best place to be because you need help. So I would suggest if you're near a community where everyone believes they will survive and thrive through anything, that is where you need to be. Okay, one more question. And that was an awesome question, David. I appreciate that. And I think we really needed to get that out there because it's not more about it's more about mental state, preparedness, the 7 Ps, with the little bit of geography and knowledge. But I think anyone can make it anywhere in the right circumstances because we do not know if it is the sun that outbursts and it's a solar flare. There is no one that can actually calculate which section of the earth is going to be hit because it's impossible to know that. So when you see Doug Vogt telling people that he knows where it's going to happen, you can immediately eliminate him as a source of actual information. The guy is fucking an egomaniac that is so full of himself that he has now become God. And the reality is that each and every one of us hold God inside of us. And that guy is onto a different level, which could be Joe Biden-ish, where he's slightly senile. So I might join his team as his only geologist because there's no one in the world that wants to join his team. Have you seen that? He's been begging for people to join his team for a year. So there's that. And if I do join his team, he'll never watch this video. He won't know about this interview, and he won't know about what I said about him. So that's another thing. So there are some people that are up to date, up to speed, watch a lot of shit. There's some people that are in a closet that don't know shit. They write books 30 years ago that are now re-famous, and they're just milking it, man. Milk it. If you could sell $100 book for $30 for a hard copy, you would be a millionaire. And then you could buy a 200-acre plot of land next to a state prison for literally $500 an acre, and then sell those acres for $20,000. You would be a millionaire and also an asshole. So there's that. So that's what's happening right now. So please, like we've always said for 4 years, Mark. And the beautiful thing is that after I did the first expose on that stupid ranch out near Canyon City that's happening, due to a very famous, dozens of you backed me up, and they said, look, as soon as I heard of that, I realized where that was and how stupid of a place that would be to put a ranch. And so not a single person attacked me. Everyone supported me. And I feel great about my decision to tell you the truth. Isn't that fucked up that I actually have to worry about a decision to tell the truth to the public based on what other people will think about me? That's where we are. It's almost embarrassing that I actually have to hedge my bets. Is it worth it for me to tell the truth to the public about what's happening in their future and their safety based on how people will perceive me? Because now there's 500,000 people that suck up to that guy that may all attack me. And you know what? I don't give a fuck, because I'm not here to milk you out of money, to gain subscribers, or to gain money from you. I'm not here for any of those things. If you're watching other people, you should be wondering why they're there. Why are they there? What are they doing? What's their purpose? Okay. Okay, I'm willing to go for 2 more minutes if I get a good question here. All right, here it is. Joe Lovan. You think sun's radiation is causing earthquakes and volcanoes? Radiation heating up the core to the point of boil, causing volcanoes. No. Joe, the only volcanoes that we know of scientifically where they're published that erupt because of the events we're talking about, and I mean solar minimum. So when we go every solar cycle, every 11 years, there's a solar minimum. And during that time, cosmic rays increase. And what we know is that during solar minimums, cosmic rays increase and they decrease. They increase and they decrease. And during these minimums, we have increased volcanic activity, but that activity is in siliceous-rich magmas. Now, siliceous-rich magmas are only magma on quote-unquote subduction zones, where ocean plate meets continental plate. So that's the ring of fire, especially the west coast of the U.S., all the way down through Central America and down through South America. That's one of the major ocean plate subduction zones under the crustal plate. So that's where siliceous magma gets heated. So that means Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, the Cascadia region, all the way down through South America, all the way down through Chile, all the way down to Antarctica. Those are the regions that would be heated. Also, there are siliceous-rich magma volcanoes in New Zealand, Indonesia, Philippines, China, Kamchatka, and all the way around the Ring of Fire, because supposedly that ocean plate is spreading at the Pacific Ridge and spreading into that ring of fire. Now, we once had that on the Atlantic coast when there was a subduction zone there, but that subduction zone ended 260 million years ago and now became a passive margin, and the Atlantic split. So geology is fascinating. But as far as the era we're going into, the only thing that this magnetic reversal or the grand solar minimum will affect volcanically is siliceous-rich magmas. That's what we know due to science. But it's ever more impressive. That's what's actually happening is the core of the earth is also heating. On these major flexure points on the 1,000-year bond cycle, when there's huge amounts of energy dumping into the North and the South Pole through that aurora belt, it's going into the core and it's causing the planet to swell. And this is causing that central inner and outer core to become dynamic. And it's causing in Iceland and the mid-ocean ridges to spread. So what we don't have is scientific analysis or corroboration on what's happening with the growing earth, because that's fringe science. So for 30 years, we're not going to get the real details from that. And unfortunately, it'll be too late at that point. But I think that all of the volcanic activity is being caused by the events we're moving into. The siliceous rich magmas are going to be erupting violently in the coming years, and that's part of our equation. So first you have Iceland, then you have Cascadia, then you have the rest of the world, and it's game on. Because we've gone from 28 erupting volcanoes 10 years ago on average to 38 volcanoes erupting 5 years ago to now 48 volcanoes erupting now on Earth regularly, and soon that will be 400 volcanoes erupting at a given time at the same time on Earth. So I don't think people really know what's about to happen. It's a slow uptick. And has any mainstream media outlet reported on the fact that we are now doubling the amount of active volcanoes on Earth in a decade? No. Are they potentially saying that more volcanoes are erupting because of climate change? Yes. Are they right? No. So there is no way we're going to get to the actual information, and anything you watch on mainstream media is propaganda, and it's for a purpose. It's for a reason. It's to either push the agenda one way or the other way. Follow the fucking money. It has nothing to do with your safety, your ability to provide for your family, or your safety. So those are the three things you should care about: safety, providing for your family, and safety. And not the governments don't care about any of that. So all the leftists that voted for Biden that think that they're going to save their ass from racism and all that other shit, all they're doing is creating infinite amounts of racism, infinite amounts of homelessness, and infinite amounts of problems on purpose, as designed by the party to destroy your ass and your life on Earth. By the party to destroy your ass and your life on Earth. Okay, Michael Pierce, last question. I'm going to deal with this because it's important. What is your opinion on the increase in rotation of the Earth? Why worried about it? There is no increased rotation in Earth. According to many bloggers out there, the Earth is speeding up and there's magnetic jerks. These are all true. So the Earth has decreased its spin or increased its spin in the last decade by plus or minus 200 milliseconds per day. In fact, during solar maximum, the slowest day was plus 350 milliseconds. I mean, that's slow. And now we're negative up to 99. That's slow. And now we're negative up to 99 milliseconds. That's supposed to be a fast Earth. But if we could compare 300 milliseconds fast to 100 milliseconds slow, or the reverse, however you want to look at it, that's literally 500 milliseconds, which is less time than it takes you to blink an eye times 1,000. So a single blink of the eye, multiply that by 1,000 equals 500 milliseconds. So does that actually matter? Probably not. And does it mean anything? Probably not. If it were to increase a 10 or 1,000 fold, it would matter. But simply fear-mongering a population because the Earth is speeding up by 100 milliseconds annually is almost as retarded as saying I just farted. And that's what these schmucks are doing. Because if you just look at the data, last year, the Earth was as slow as 300 milliseconds per day. And now we're worried about it being as fast as 100 milliseconds less. How is 1/3 of the fastest day last year dangerous this year? It's not. It's bullshit. It sells books. It certainly gets views, and it means fucking nothing. And it means fucking nothing. And the fact that this schmuck is telling us that the Earth is going to flip 90 degrees based on a 100 millisecond slowdown is so retarded and unscientific, and that people gobble it up. It's the same thing as Mud Fossil University, same shit. And it's the same shit as Doug Vogt saying that the Earth is going to end on October 29th, 2046 at 9:30 p.m. It's all bullshit. And if you believe that, then please unsubscribe to my channel and continue to watch those assholes, because that is complete nonsense. And if there's one person that can defy me on that and wants to challenge me, I'd be happy to set up a podcast with you, Ben Davidson, and you, Doug Vogt, and I'll dedicate 10 free hours, 10 straight shows where you can stick it up my ass and shove me all of the science garbage and big words up my ass, and I will shut you down, because you're just going to look like a fool because you're just making shit up. It's called Fairy Tale University. You know when they show like the big giant tree stump that's 380 feet off the ground? If you just extrapolate that up into the tree, it goes up into space, which is below freezing at about 60,000 feet. And the tree would be at sub-zero temperatures. There could be no tree living there unless the atmosphere had increased thousands of miles, there's no evidence that it ever happened in the future. So these people are living in la la land, making up shit to sell books, and they actually pay taxes, which is even more embarrassing. So these are the people that you're following and you're listening to. And I get thousands of emails a day about these topics. I answer every single one of them. And I guarantee these schmucks don't answer any of their emails, which is why people watch our channel, because I'm actually a human that answers people with actual information. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Anyway. So there you got it. You've been watching for a while. You can make your own decisions, who to follow, who to learn from. But I implore you to listen to all of the avenues of recourse. Come up with your own decision. Do your own homework. Do your own research. Ask deep. Follow long. And if you find some aberrations in information, please. That's the sound of your head popping out of your ass. And you actually are probably following the right path. That's how it works. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. As like Mary Greeley has been saying for 8 years that Yellowstone's going to erupt. And a paper came out just last month that said, no, it isn't. It will never erupt for thousands of years. There's no information that says it will. So stop saying it will erupt, because it won't. And that's a boom. Click on one of the other boxes to gain more knowledge, and we'll be back live soon. Thanks to each and every one of you. 272 live now. We love you, Kristen, Python, CF Chingara, Michael Pierce, Julie, Kilbride, Joe Awesome, Joe Lovin, Sleeping Dog. Who else is here? I can't even imagine. We love each and every one of you. Steffers J, Sapphire Barnett, Bradley Smith. You all have wrenches. And there's a reason for that. You support independent journalism, alternative media, real science, and the investigation into what is actually happening into your lives. One day at a time, one thing at a time. You can do it too. Just like Prepper Nurse 1 says. Each and every one of us has the ability, no matter how smart, how stupid, how limited our income is. If you live on a penny a day, you can prep. If you live on $1,000 a day, you can give it away. Do what's right. Do what's good. Do it now. Do it dab. We love you. Be safe.